Okay, so let's call our meeting to order. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Joan.
First on the agenda is to approve and review the agenda. And there is one addition on it.
So moved.
Gary,
Second.
seconded by Warren. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, on to the consent items.
I so move.
Thank you, Paul.
I'll second.
Seconded by Warren. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, on to the issue form, and first off, let's take care of the NACO voting delegate.
Sorry, no, you're good, just leave it off. It's
Just
fine.
leave it off.
Yeah, the other mic will pick it up.
Rich Sanders has been your appointee for years, since he attends the NACO conference and is on the NACE board. But annually, we have to affirm that with NACO, so,
He's willing, right?
oh yeah.
Yeah, so I move.
Okay,
Second.
okay, motion by Paul, seconded by Gary. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, let's see, then on to our issue form. Paul, do you want to start?
Yep. Tri-Valley last week, I had family in from out of town, so I didn't go to the meeting, but I listened to some of it while we were between, but I don't want him to leave, but I know he's going and he's gone and all of that, so I know Gary's on the selection committee, so I wish him well, and he's having a going away thing tomorrow, I do believe it's Wednesday, right, 2:00, yeah. And then Dancing Sky was yesterday. It's interesting how the Dancing Sky works. Just like with most everything, take care of all of the issues in the first 5 minutes, and then their grants and stuff. Everything is so. It's coming around because a lot of those kind of grants were reenacted while they were kind of on a hold, kind of not really. But things are going well there. They just a lot of information, and like I said, just like in the other group, the acronyms, I just can't keep up. I don't understand all the acronyms, but nonetheless, it was a good meeting, and the next one here is in Crookston in October, I do believe. So that's all. That was all good, and they're just keeping on. And we just heard one, they talked specifically about what they just talked about, that one handout we got. And so it's good, they're just on the move, they just keep working for it, so that's what I have. Oh, and we have, at the end of this month, I think it is, the water district thing, but that last meeting, I think we already talked about, right? Last month, at the beginning of the month, yeah. Yep. That's all.
Okay. Warren?
Okay, well, one thing I would say is that Sunday when I was doing my walk after church mid-afternoon, I came across a neighborhood where Mark Johnson lives. Two state patrol cars there, both watching out for any issues.
Oh.
I talked with, can't remember his name now, I think he was either a lieutenant or a captain. He's there, very friendly guy. And I've met him before, but the name doesn't come through. Anyway, you said that it was there in case that there was some issue with Mark.
Sure.
And I said, well, you guys are on the front side of the house, you should be on the back, because that's,
Easier access.
if you're gonna go after the guy, that's probably where you're gonna go. But they didn't go down there. But they did make trips down to Representative Gander's house. He's down about 3 or 4 blocks down the street, but they didn't maintain a spot. They're just back and forth. But they weren't busy and nothing to do other than sit there. So I had a couple of errands to run, and I came by later with my car and I decided to drive by their area. They were still there, so I went home and got a couple cans of pop and a couple
Sure.
Snickers candy bars, and I went back and I got a few brownie points. Yes. Nothing else. Anyway, one of our issues going forward is that Stephanie Halford, who has been the executive director of the Metropolitan Planning Organization, has given her resignation. She and her husband are moving back to Utah. That's where they're from. He had been working for Polaris some months ago and was among those released when they had staff cut downs, and he worked for an engineering firm in Grand Forks after that, and apparently all of this must have triggered a job search or something. Got one back in the hometown, so we'll have to replace her. I don't know who's gonna be on the selection committee. We have a special meeting, well, we have a regular meeting tomorrow, and then an executive board meeting on next Wednesday, a week from Wednesday. And we'll talk about interim and such in there, but okay, they've already started advertising for the replacement, but we have one gal who's been on staff for years there and likely to be the interim director, if not named the full-time position. She was a candidate for it last time when Stephanie was named, so
Okay.
I think she'll be right in line, and she's very knowledgeable. But I think I heard that she was on the verge of retiring, so we might have something, a little complete overhaul going on there. We had jail meeting last Monday, we're up to 146, which is one of their higher numbers in quite a while. Of that number, Polk had 72 inmates, Norman County 3 and Red Lake County 2. We didn't have any month numbers because Erica, the secretary, is gone. There were 24 U.S. Marshal inmates, 18 from Nolan County. Department of Corrections had 12. Those are people usually or mostly on work release. And in total, there were 69 per diem paying inmates, bringing in $133,488. And the juvenile center had $93,618 in income, so it was a good month that way. In the juvenile center, there were 7 in the non-secure area and 2 in the secure area, so 9 out of, well, there's a total there of 16 beds, but it hasn't been filled up for some reason. They keep talking about all the shortage of beds in the state, but it doesn't seem to fill up. But then that crew over there there's lots of new people in there, so it's probably good that it's not filling up. There's 4 open positions in corrections, 3 in the jail and 1 in the juvenile center. They got good candidates being interviewed and probably fill all those spots. There were 4 resignations in the month, 3 were in the jail, 1 in the juvenile center. So there's small numbers leaving, but they're still leaving. Then in probation, there were 63 new cases, 62 closed ones, and but there's an issue there because the funding for the sentence to service program is ending, and that's in service in our area when you go out and rake for people who can't and such, and it also involves the operation of the kitchen and the laundry in the jail, but they'll be able to continue those with in-house prisoners. See, then there was that's probably enough. I got all kinds of notes here, but I can't even read all of them. Okay, that's good for that, and I think that does it.
About the district meeting.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
Well, you can.
Well, I had my little part in that. You made the mistake of asking me if I had something to say, so I spit it out.
Yeah, remind me not to give him the mic again.
We had, everybody in there was complaining about the program budget cuts and people cuts and all of that stuff. I got on the horn and I said, well, this country's got a real problem. We got spending on $7 trillion a year and you can bringing in $5 trillion in income. I said, we gotta do some cutting here. And I wasn't overly nice. And I bought the state of Minnesota too. I had $18 billion there and they peed that away.
I like your approach, Warren. Wish I'd have been there. Now, can we replay it?
Anyway, I had several people come up to me afterwards and say that was really good. We needed that information.
A little reminder.
Yeah,
It was close to, it was at the end of the,
yeah, that was right
Report,
before
so-
lunch.
all right.
Thank you for
That's
that,
enough.
Warren. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Gary, follow that now.
I tell ya. Warren did a nice job with the corrections. The sentence to serve would end at the end of this month because the fiscal year ends then. But corrections is going to continue that to the end of the year, so I'll take care of, fall and at least giving people an opportunity to kind of plan. And then we'll take a look to see what the cost is and if it's something that we want to follow that locally or not. And nice to see the juvenile numbers up. A lot of them are from different counties because there just isn't a spot to put people. So that's a good thing as long as we can have the staffing to provide that. Tri-Valley, right, Jason's gonna be leaving, Corky Reynolds is going to be in, starting next week. At least for 2 or 3 weeks, we had a meeting on Tuesday, and then I had a meeting with the search committee on last Friday. So we have that pretty much ready to go and advertise. We're dealing with a company out of Duluth, I believe.
Yep.
And so they're following up with that, doing a nice job. They've got a nice document, and I think they've got a good pool of people who may be interested. So that's the big bonus for us. So we'll see where that goes. We just want to get that moving as quick as possible. And then I've got Laurel, that's the library legacy board tomorrow, and we'll get an update on what our rental agreements are for next year and what that budget's gonna be. So we'll see.
Yep.
That's what I've got.
Okay, so I had, the AMC solid waste meeting, and, we're talking about, looking at setting up some tours at different sites around the state. And, we're also kind of talking about trying to set up, something with MPCA now. After we kind of got our basis set of what we want to accomplish and what our issues are. And then, Warren talked about our district meeting. We were just missing one county. So, it's a good showing again. Beautiful building. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, I had the DHS Performance Council, and I mentioned some of those things at our social service meeting, in regards to PIP programs and the compliance numbers of, that all the counties are, that they have to, the percentages that they have to meet for their performances. I had my monthly radio program, and then I had Sand Hill One Watershed One Plan. We looked at where our expenses that we've done so far and what our balance is and how we're going to use that up. And then also, we set in motion, the ability to ask for the next phase of funding, for the next 2-year, spending timeframe. And as right now, we don't know for sure what that amount is going to be because, Bowser doesn't have their numbers yet. So they're not able to give us a definite, number going forward. Our women's cohort met, we talked about, the special session for the legislature and, how we're moving forward with different things. And then I had, solid waste in Foston. And as always, there's lots of things that are going on there. There's just, we went over the, all the collections at the incinerator and the landfill and recyclables and what, those rates are at. And, talked to, about our, permitting issues. And, kind of what, happened or didn't happen at the legislature. And, once again, there was nothing done on the, the SCORE funding, so that staying, what it is now. We had our insurance, company that covers our solid waste facilities come and, just do an audit of our facilities. So right now, our total coverage of our facilities is about 60 million. And so that's about a 3.7 million increase from, last year. And our, premium will stay the same at, $283,704. So we know what that is, so we can, plug that into our budget. We talked about the hub and spoke issues and, whether or not it's something that we try and keep moving forward with, because we know that we're not gonna get funding from the state, to help with that, and the rules aren't out yet, and, still just a lot of unknowns when it comes to that. And then I had a SHAC meeting and, Commissioner Cunningham, talked a lot about, the funding cuts, particularly at the federal level. One thing I thought is interesting, all newborns within the state, get their heels pricked and then the blood, is sent to, MDH, at the lab. And, I don't remember offhand, like, how many different things that they are screened for. But, the cost for all that screening is $177, which, I don't think is really that bad when you're looking at how many different things that they're looking for. And so it, if there's insurance coverage, then the insurance is billed. If there is no insurance coverage, then the state covers the cost. So, I just, I thought that was something interesting. And then, we did propose some changes to the infrastructure funding that was cut by the legislature, and, kind of gearing projects more towards the data, collection and ability to retrieve the data, because that was where we really struggled during COVID. So, just kind of trying to make sure that all the different regions in the state have the ability to collect the data and, get the information that they need. And then I had, the MAFBA, our phase-in small group meeting, and, there's just still so many questions, and, we asked DCYF, the questions, well, they don't know the answers, and then they're saying, well, we need to go to Hennepin and Ramsey County as the pilot counties to get answers, but then it's like, well, how do we work all this together? And, and we're still, waiting for definitions and then, whether or not there will be funding available to the other counties as we're required by the law to implement it starting January 1st of 2027. So that continues to be
What was that acronym again? Math?
MAFBA,
Mathba.
MAAFPCWDA.
Okay. Got it.
We'll put it in the minutes, Paul.
That's fine.
Minnesota African American Family Preservation.
Yep. That's the thing we talked about that day here, about they had to do this study and send it down and, okay, I got it.
And that's, where I asked Karen about, the training, because
Yep.
it's, in some ways, it's kind of shaped like the ICWA program is. But then again, it's not. And so there's just a lot of things going on there, or lack of things in some cases, so.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, Sheriff Tadman.
This is different. Good afternoon.
Yes.
It's been a long day, I'm sure it's for you too, so. This is just the monthly report for May at the sheriff's office. It's been submitted, our documented services. Oh, now I gotta find it.
Yes,
Okay. You're almost there. Serious?
no, keep going.
Oh, keep going. There we go. Documented services for May 25, we had a total of 89 that come through records. Paid services of $1,701.46, and then our no charge services are $1,055.16. Next items are transport miles, comparisons by categories, and we had a total of 194 hours for the month of May. Total miles, 5,859. Our medical facility, we had 14. Our mental health, 481. And then our in-state was 2,409, outstate 1929. Nothing throughout other counties and medical examiners, so, but our transport, federal, still continued to stay up there with 1,027 miles. And then again, the breakdown of May per deputy and per transport, with again 100 total of 94 total hours. So, and calls for service in our dispatch center, we had a total of 2,667. With that, emergency 794, and then our non-emergency calls were 1,873. And then for May 25, our calls for services by month in our primary code is, we had a total of 801 calls for service. And we had reported of 2 assaults, 21 assist other agencies. Our civil process, 198. And then our domestics is really high. We had a total of 8 when those are violent. DUI arrests 3. Nice to see emotional distress, that's only at 1. So 4 harassments, and then our info tip line, which is great, we had 14. Juvenile complaints, we had 7, and then our motorist assist, we had 24. And then with our motor vehicle crash, we had a total of 10, and those being property damage. And then 1 being an ATV crash. Public assist 29, school patrol last of May at the end, 65 for that. 1 sexual assault reported. And then with the suspicious activity persons and vehicles, we had a total of 8 with that. Traffic complaints, we had 15, 13 complaints, 2 traffic hazards, and a total of 215 traffic stops for the month of May. And the other thing it stood out is our welfare checks for the month of May. We had 9. So other than that, it was a pretty good month. Yes, Warren.
At fellowship in church on Sunday morning, and also at my coffee session this morning, the big conversation piece was about some naked guy that was running around on County Road 19, and ended up in somebody's basement and all of that stuff. And
Yep.
you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah. He is, so we got a report that the homeowner had heard somebody that believed something at the house and had seen him out there, and he ended up breaking into the residence, and they ended up meeting each other in the stairway. And then he fled from the area, which we set up a perimeter, but searched for the morning into the afternoon. And in the afternoon, one of our deputies spotted him get up off the dike. So he'd been laying out there all day. So, yeah, he was not clothed, not right, but ended up not giving us any problems or anything during arrest. But then he was taken to the hospital to check over dehydration and stuff like that, just to make sure he was okay. And then he was booked in at Correction Center. So no one hurt. That's good. I think that'd be scary in the morning, bright and early in the morning, to find somebody in your house. So yeah. So all in all, that worked out really good.
It was been quite a conversation piece, I think.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
I hope that don't happen at my house.
I hope it doesn't happen at my house to meet somebody after you hear something break in. You think, yeah. So
Naked and bleeding is what I heard coming up the stairway.
yeah,
Yay.
he cut himself a little bit on the window. So yeah. So also I sent in April 25 just to look at, but any issues, concerns with any of the reports on that?
Just a question, you know, like when you're serving papers, on an average, are you able to serve them on the first try?
No, and that's why you get the total number of how many. Is each attempt is, we call a call for service, because it's taking the deputy's time. So you might get 3, 4 after the 5th or 6th, depending on what we try to run down. Once they go to the residence, they'll either knock on neighbors' doors, check vehicles, try to find out maybe the person moved out and no one's just answering the place. So once we get all that, and if we're not able to find them, then we send back to the people that are having us serve it. Not found, and this is the last known address. So if he's out of the county, then they'll switch it to another county. Or we have had many times where we bring it over to Grand Forks because we're over there, and then we get the assistance of their deputies to go serve it. So yeah, you know, we get those much in, and they might not all go out in that month. So the continuous, they do it daily. It's daily service,
Okay,
certified mail. So
yeah, because I was just kind of wondering, because I know Mille Lacs County had an issue over the weekend,
oh yeah.
so.
Yeah. Okay, next item I brought, our emergency manager brought to my attention and wanted to know what to do. We have 2 1999 portable gas generators that they do work. We've upgraded, but we have them at the office and they haven't been, I've been advised they haven't been deployed for the last 10 years. It's an upkeep. We, put new gas in them, do the upkeep, change the oil, do everything, and then set them back up. So we could end up trying to sell them because we're not using them. There's no sense. They're 26 years old. Or donate them to any fire department that would be looking for them. That's our suggestion. So I sent the inventory sheets of their makes and models. And just looking for a motion to sell them or as a Polk County property. So they've been with emergency management since 1999, so.
But we have replacements, or,
Yeah, we have replacements and they're not being used, so. We could see if any other entities want them. We can check before selling them. We could check with Buildings and Grounds and see if they have any use for them. We're just not using them, so if somebody else can use them, I'd rather have that, so.
well,
I'd rather see that than sell them, so
Okay.
give them away. That's
Yeah,
what
I mean-
that's what I would propose.
yes,
Well,
I'll
I mean,
second your
that's,
motion.
Give them to, got how many fire departments in our county? How many other entities, emergency service entities that maybe have a use for them? Look around.
Okay.
That'd be my motion, yes.
I'm seconding.
Okay.
so then you're talking about changing the motion, because the motion was to approve
To
the sale.
sell.
Correct, we'd have to change it to.
Motion to see if there's any
to
need for
donate
them
first.
throughout the county, and I'll check with Buildings and Grounds first. Okay.
Okay, and then if there isn't, then give them the opportunity to sell.
And opportunity to sell, yeah.
Okay.
You got that, Sam?
Yep.
Okay. Okay,
Just dispose of them.
Well, yeah, since it's Polk County property, yeah.
yeah, okay, so motion by Paul and seconded by Warren. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? Carried.
Okay.
Okay.
Our community service officer got done with college, pass post, and now last Monday he started patrol training, so that flipped into a pretty easy rotation because he's been here since off and on, so that really worked out good. We did put out for advertisement for that position again, for that part-time for between, they have to be either in a 4-year college or else a 2-year college between the first and second year, so they have some commitment there versus coming here. We haven't got any bites on that yet, but we're backgrounding 2 others for patrol positions, and then they just did an interview today, so
Great.
hopefully that works out, so we'll continue with that.
Okay.
So,
One more thing,
So-
just to add on to what Warren was talking about before about the stuff that's going on with the state and stuff. This is a commissioner level. I'm not saying that there has to be any of that kind of home protection. I'm not worried about that. But in the setting with just things in a vulnerable, volatile, I don't know what the right word is. Do we, us, in this setting here? I don't know, I'm asking, I'm just putting it out there. I want your opinion, and you can think about it, I just don't know. I mean, should there be somebody outside the door? We've never had it before, I understand that. I'm just saying that at this time, I am not fearful for myself, so don't get me there. I'm talking about this organization, 5 commissioners,
the county, you mean?
the county, yes.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking.
well, we
Just
have that in Justice Center, where the jail is and the court system.
Yeah, the entrances. Yeah.
I'm just saying, we know when this scheduled meeting is, the whole world does. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if you're gonna shoot somebody, a judge or somebody, you're much better off doing it in the parking lot than
I
going in the
understand
building.
that, I understand that.
I guess so, Warren.
Just something
I
to
guess
think
I
about,
haven't
I'm just bringing it up.
I
that's
get
all.
it, yeah, I get it. You know, because the outside at the Justice Center is, you know, you got people coming and going and stuff like that. It's being aware of your surroundings is the biggest thing, and any threats or anything. And I think if administrator has gotten anything in the past, he's always relayed that. But still, would be a decision for you.
We
Yeah.
generally haven't talked about it openly in a public session, because obviously it's a public session, but you and I have talked, we've had other discussions, we have had some in the past too that the board is aware of, so. Probably nothing other than to say, take it into account.
Yep. Yep.
We talk to you some more later in a more organized fashion.
All right, sounds good.
We're probably in good shape here with Joan.
Now, let's not go there with that.
Okay.
Just remember, you know, these are serious situations to take into account, and try to be respectful of our role in the big picture here.
No, if you ever need anything, assistance or anything, just call and we'll do.
When Judge John Rue was in office, he carried right in the courtroom.
Yep.
That was a long time ago now, but
Well,
Yeah.
times are changing, unfortunately.
yeah.
So,
Yep.
okay, thank you. Be safe.
Yeah.
Always. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Jake, just a reminder, we are on time. We will stay on time. We will stay on time. That is my promise.
Hi
That is
there.
my promise. How are you?
I'm great.
I think
I'm not
I made
worried
one
if-
extra.
Hey, I'm not worried if we're not on time.
Hey, the first one is basically you've seen this and set it right on the golf tee, so no concerns.
Thanks, Warren.
And I did think I had maybe possibly 3 action items, so I only have 2, Sam. Thank you.
You want one back?
Did I have an extra? Yeah, that's
Yep.
fine. And I can point things out if you have questions. Okay, my first action item.
Jake, you wanna wait for,
Yeah, we can. Sure.
see, now you're behind.
Yeah, you're gonna put me behind. Joan's gonna put me behind.
I'm not
Looks
gonna
like I'm a
blame
minute
you.
ahead.
Jake's fault.
Yeah,
I'm not blaming you.
usually is not my fault.
It's never your fault. You
Questions,
just gotta-
comments?
You just gotta understand.
I am gonna go breeze through this one fairly quickly since it is, a final plat.
It's taken a while.
So and we'll get to that. So the first action item I have is a final plat approval for first re-subdivision of Northern Lights Edition. This was one that I brought to you December of last year. We went over this actually, looking at balancing a lot of different parcels in that. Specifically, we're manipulating 8 different lots from that existing parcel that was Northern Lights subdivision. That was done in the late 90s. This is on Bradley Lake. So a portion of these lots are riparian, they do touch water. And I'm just gonna kind of get to some of these pictures. This is a picture of where these lots are laid out right now. All the blue is all existing property lot lines that were developed in this existing plat. This is kind of a poor sketch, but I'll get to this one. So these right-of-ways here, these white, indicate that this is where the road actually was built here, and this is where the right-of-way was. So that road was supposed to go directly north and south, parallel with county, I believe it's 34, and it didn't. So they just built the road in the wrong spot. That was one of the driving factors when we started talking to the applicants about how to kind of fix and correct some of these. The other one is I believe this to be a road right-of-way that would serve as an access point into Bradley Lake. Never got developed, it never really transpired that was You can see there's like 4 tree rows in this right of way that they were going to establish in order to get some of these parcels, most likely an access point. This right of way has been abandoned completely by the township. There is no road there, they abandoned that completely. This right of way has actually moved in the plat to accommodate where that road was actually built. And when we do that, essentially, what we're left with is we gain footage on this particular parcel here. The church loses a little. This is the church parcel. The parcel to the north, which is also church owned, loses a little sliver here. This property gains a little sliver that was road right away. Then along the lake, these parcels were set up as 3 parcels before. They remain 3 parcels, but now all 3 parcels have frontage on Bradley Lake, meet the requirements for that particular lake. It's a natural environment lake, and whatnot. This is a little busy here, but it shows the existing property lot line as described, and then these black pins indicate where that property lot line and where those lots would be. It's lot A here on the west, B in the middle, and then C is a larger parcel that encompasses, there's a large home here and a large accessory building. That encompasses all the development that's happened in the last 25 years is on parcel C. So parcel C used to be this dotted hashed out line here that encompassed those 2 things, but it didn't have lake frontage. Same owner, I don't know why it was set up that way, but for whatever reason in the late 90s, that's how it was set up. So, the only additional parcel that's being added was a double lot here that's actually gaining square footage. That's on the north side of the township road there. That is actually gonna be 2 parcels. Instead of existing right now, it's 1, which they would not be able to have 2 parcels with the square footage that it exists right now. So, a lot of cleanup.
But with the new sliver, it's now big enough.
Yes, correct. When we add that old right of way and a little bit of the church property to that, it's big enough to have 2 parcels and meet all the ordinance criteria.
Okay.
So, really a lot of cleanup is what it is. And what took so long with this plat, because last planning commission meeting, we actually extended this for another 3 months to get a lot of the legal work done on the quick claim deeds and the properties switching hands and all the banks that needed to sign the plat and all the entities that were involved in doing that paperwork. We're right on the doorstep now. We have all those, they have all those documents in place. They satisfied that condition we put in, that that there wasn't 2 separate parcels, they're all cleaned up. That was our first condition with preliminary approval. We make sure that those 2, that's not 2 parcels, it's 1. They cleaned that up. All the abandonments have happened from Canute Township. That happened fairly swiftly, about 30-40 days after the preliminary plat approval. The township said, no, we don't need those right of ways. Let's adjust them like the plat says. They aren't disturbing more than an acre because there is no roadway development and it's already there. So they did not need to get any state permit from the MPCA. They didn't want any covenant restrictions. They had no covenant restrictions in the past. And so, little side note here in red is just that on May 23rd, the Planning Commission extended it by 3 months. So they could finalize the plat without having to go back before the board as preliminary and final. So,
But you're done.
yeah, we're gonna sign off on it hopefully today unless there's issues. So I have in front of you a motion to approve this as a final plat, and I will need signatures on the plat documents.
Yes, so we went through this in quite detail before.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Paul, seconded by Gary. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
At the end of my time, I'll
Okay.
get signatures.
Yep.
Okay, the next action item I have is an interim use permit request from Hawkinson's Construction Inc. To operate a temporary asphalt batch plant in Chester Township. Specifically, it is section 25 of Chester Township. They are looking for a 1-year application for a temporary asphalt batch plant and contractor yard located in an existing gravel pit. They were the bidders on this Red Lake County Road number 1 redo. And so they're looking to operate out of this pit that is just west of Trail. And so, we have documents of what's gonna be on site. They're teeing it up so that they're looking at starting very, very soon. They're looking for operation of a 3-week period. Monday through Friday, 6 a.m., 8 p.m., possible Saturday if needed. They did not list Sunday. Talking with Jack from Hawkinson's, they don't work Sundays anyway. They won't. Weather permitting, they're on track to be in that pit for 3 weeks and then be out of there, and they have no other bid in the area that they're seeking. So really it is for that one county project, hence why they're looking for a 1-year from the date of issuance. So they will be utilizing gravel from this pit. This is a large pit that's just east of County 6 there, where our county salt and sand shop is, right? It's more of a loafing shed, hay shed with all the sand, just directly east of there.
Okay.
I'll go to some site pictures here and kind of show you. So our county, you can't see it on the aerial, but we have a little building here that they stockpile gravel and aggregate, and then also stuff for the calcium chloride and whatnot. Access is off State Highway 92. There's an access right off here that gets you into the pit. They're looking at being on the southern portion of that excavated area. There's large sand deposit, gravel deposits in the area here that they're utilizing for that asphalt patching.
Is that the one that Knife River has worked out of?
Knife River has worked out of this one in the past. And actually right to the south as well, Knife River's operated out of that one in the past too.
Okay.
I think this is a state-owned site right to the south. The Minnesota DNR owns this, or whatever it is, the Minnesota Mine and Recreational Trust. They own that pit, and that's the one Knife River mostly batches out of in that immediate area.
Okay.
But they have operated off this site too. I think I had some other, here's the,
The road right to the west of that, is that a hard surface road?
yes,
Yep.
it's County 6.
County 6, yep.
Yep,
Okay.
where 6 and 92 divide there, or intersect there.
Okay, I see.
This is trail, just to the east.
All right.
So when we noticed this out, we did get a couple comments. They were not seen as adverse comments by any means. Minnesota DNR just had commented via email to have the applicants reach out if they needed a water appropriation permit. Typically, that's where you're actually taking water, groundwater out to mine and get the aggregate you need. She was just unaware that they had that much stock aggregate that they're not mining. They're just taking it from the pile and batching. And then Troy Schroeder, Minnesota DO2 district planner, had no concerns with the IUP request. He just added that any work in signage in the MnDOT right away will require a permit from MnDOT. There is no signage or anything. They usually hang a flag on the entrance so their truck drivers know we're coming here. So what else did I have? I just had this as staff recommends approval as long as the site use very consistent is portable, temporary in nature and demand driven. Staff recommends approval of the IUP with the following conditions. The first condition is that the IUP is granted solely to Hawkinson's Construction Inc., not to any other entity, subleasee, no other transfer of this IUP. The IUP will be valid for 1 year at the request of the applicant and shall expire unless reapplication is received before the expiration date. Their operational plan shall be followed. Any deviation from the plan shall be approved by Polk County Planning and Zoning staff. No Sunday batching will be allowed. Follow the hours and days of operations listed in their operational plan. Dust from the operation shall be controlled via dewatering, calcium chloride, similar products, not to create a nuisance to property owners. And then away from the other standards, other than the last one that you need to seek federal, state, and any other county of Polk rules and regulations they must meet, so. With that, any questions? Go over anything else for this request?
So looking for a motion.
I'll move
Warren,
as far away as I can get.
Second.
seconded by Paul. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, that is all I have for action items. I will just need to get Joan's signature here on this final plat.
Okay.
My gracious.
Is that a record?
No, I wasn't expecting a record. I just knew it would be.
Do you want me to come
Well,
over
yeah,
and
when
sign
you
it, or?
get heckled when you come in here by
I did no heckler.
I did. I'm gonna leave this plat with you, sir,
You should be used
when I'm
to
done
it.
with it, cause I'm done with it.
Just having myself a Tuesday.
He's not even a
Can you
redhead.
tell me about the gun club?
I suppose I could just as well get reloaded too.
I had sent Andy
Yeah.
some of those documents.
He hasn't shown me anything. I was just kinda wondering, cause we have another coming.
Yeah, that's the old Crookston land.
Okay.
And I sent him the documents from the MPCA.
Yep.
That cited as that entire site's garbage.
Yeah.
And essentially undevelopable and
Okay, yeah.
I'm
No,
gonna.
that just helps with understanding the appeal tonight.
Yeah, Andy has all that.
Did you send it before yesterday?
I sent him last week,
Okay,
Wednesday.
yesterday. You didn't get me anything.
We got 20 minutes before Sarah's gonna be here.
To you when I get
Yeah, we
back.
can
Yeah,
do
that'd
some
be awesome.
switching. Do you want Stacy to come up?
Sure. Give me a pen.
Are we working right now?
Yep.
Okay, let me just go down here.
Yeah, I got it. Ankle.
You know how to work a mouse?
Yeah. From that far away.
Oh my, that's a
Oh my
good
God.
result. We got double vision.
Yeah, you can just scroll, you can.
Here, you want these?
Here, we're going out of order, you're ready.
No, when you line these Mylars up, you can see right through them.
Hi, Stacy, I'm Paul.
Hi, Paul. Nice
I'm
to
a
meet
lot
you.
nicer than the rest of these.
Are they? Are you?
I think so.
Hey,
So you're the one I need to look out for then.
Right on. That could be.
No problem.
she knows I'm the mild one. Sometimes I feel like I'm signing my life away. Is that it?
Very much not. We're not taking any bank account information today. Thank you.
Oh, and I did put that date on my calendar,
Oh, thank you.
so you can go ahead with that. Yep.
Agenda.
Okay, sounds good. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. I feel like I'm in front of the principal's office or something.
You're not.
Well, you should be used to that.
Yeah, it should be. I'm used to being in the background. This is a little intimidating. It's good.
We're harmless,
Yeah,
I think.
I am.
you are. Yes, you're the one to look out for.
No, I'm harmless.
I was gonna introduce her, but she seems to be doing okay.
Wonderful.
This is your new finance director, Stacy Grover.
Nice to meet you, Stacy.
Nice to meet you, everybody. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, yes. I'm gonna stop in and see your husband one day.
Uh-oh.
No official business.
No official business. That's just fine. That's just fine.
But I did, he did report at East Grand Forks government meeting,
Okay.
but I never did talk to him other than hear his name.
Okay. Well, yes, go
But I'll
chat.
do that.
Go
All right.
distract him and chatter at him. they'll enjoy that.
Okay.
We've been enjoying getting used to the area, so there's just,
Well, you brought a hockey championship when you came.
yeah, that was so exciting. That was just awesome. We had a great time. We went down and spent 3 days there, and I've never done the state hockey tournament, so it was fun. It was good, enlightening. We love to see the kids get behind it, the community. That was just great.
I had kids who played in that many years ago,
Did you? Okay,
yeah, twice.
twice. Well, that's cool. Okay, well, let me kind of maybe back up and start again. I'm Stacy Grover. I'm your new finance director. 3 weeks? 2.5. Yeah, 2.5.
Month on, or 4 weeks. on
Yeah,
Thursday.
4 weeks. So we've kind of hit the ground running. My family and I come from International Falls. So I've got about 18 plus years of government finance experience. So county, while your aids and your, how your finances are calculated are different, you're still fund accounting, you're still governmental accounting. So it's still a lot of statutes, laws, aids, levies, that kind of thing. So familiar from that standpoint. Operationally, you need to operate similar. So we have also accounting standards, your GASBs, your audit. The audit for me will be one of the more important aspects of my job. I always took my audits to be a reflection of my work, and that needs to reflect how well I'm doing for you as a board, and also for Chuck. So we're looking forward to working with Abdo in July. I think I'm kind of going out of order here, but in July your auditors will be up. And we'll start working with them. We've already reached out to them, but that will be one really good way for you to kind of see how we're doing. And it's going to take a couple years for you to kind of see the results, but we've already started making a lot of changes already, just even the last couple weeks. So the first week I spent at a conference learning about all of these different softwares. You have a lot of different software products here that really helped me kind of get a much faster grip on it. And I also somehow managed, and I didn't tell Chuck this, to get on one of the boards as a recorder inadvertently because I raised my hand. So I now know don't raise your hand at those things. But that will also be really good because it'll be good, getting involved with other groups in other counties. So there is that, but I've learned my lesson there. And then also just meeting the other county offices, surrounding offices. I met Marshall, Pennington, and Red Lake. So we spent some time kind of conferring and sharing stories and practices. So that was also good. As far as a department, we have Abdo in. So I've been working very close with Abdo, kind of going through. So what we're trying to kind of balance out is as Abdo is in working on projects, I'm kind of following them, doing more on the ground work, and cleaning up some things, as well as kind of divvying up. They're gonna go over here and I'm gonna work on project B, and then we come kind of back to the table and start writing policies. We also have payroll implementation we've started off on, so payroll is down working next to me, so we were starting to kind of work on some of those processes and getting that cleaned up. Payroll is very important. Every 2-week deadline, it has to go out one way or the other, and also you can have a lot of losses there, time and effort, paying people incorrectly and having to fix that. So we really want to make sure that we've got a good process going forward. So we will continue to work with Abdo on that, but I'm excited for the county to have an integrated system that will be really a good thing for everybody. Your department heads down to your employees will benefit from that, and it will streamline a lot of that functionality from human error and data input. So we've been working also then Questica budget training. We've got a new budget software system coming in. I've gone through the training. I got out an email to the department heads today about kind of current budget stages. So from my kind of perspective and in working with Chuck, your finance department director should really kind of drive that process for you. So we're getting in there and we're getting the system set up. I've sent out an email to your department heads so they kind of understand what the new process and stages will look like, just the next few 3. We're gonna be a little behind the gun getting the first initial stage loaded, but for your purposes and for Chuck's with your board agenda and your budget timeline, should be on track. And then financial systems and reports. Spending a fair amount of time and working also with Abdo on looking at your chart of accounts. So out of the state auditor's office, we have what's called COPARs. It's basically your compliance grid. Going through all your chart of accounts, one, to familiarize myself with it, and then two, also for compliance. So Abdo and myself have all, we've identified areas that we feel need to be kind of cleaned up. And so we're gonna kind of collaborate on that and then kind of decide how and when we want to go about making those changes, because some of those changes are harder to implement internally when we're talking about changing structures and count codes, because there's so much backdrop to that. But then that should hopefully lead to better reporting. Also, it'll help in the audit, so everything rolls up the way it's supposed to, which is really important for your auditors. Any questions while I'm just speeding away here? Okay, we talked about the budget process change. I am looking forward to that. It'll help me learn a lot about your departments. Cash handling is also kind of going back to those processes and procedures. Abdo started the project with the departments working on getting the process cleaned up, which also involves bank reconciliations. We are also working on, you'll hear me use the terminology of internal controls, which is basically the control over the money and functionality, making sure that no one person has more control over parts of it, avoids fraud. So we'll start kind of getting out to the department's cash handling process, and it just lays out, we need to have you put these reports with these cash receipts, needs to be into the finance office by X day so that people aren't sitting on cash for a week or a month, needs to be timely processed, and kind of continuing what the work that Abdo has started. But again, back down to getting into policies and procedures, which I'll look to Chuck for some guidance on what we need to bring back to the board and when we bring things back, but just starting that. Chart of accounts, and then we are also migrating away from, we have some software on the AS400, which is going to be put to bed at the end of the year. So we did finally, I think last week I did finally figure out one of the systems, the cash receipt system, and we are in the process of, we will get that migrated off as well. So I think we've got just about everything identified and ready to be off of there as well for Levi. And then the July audit's coming up, so lots of stuff from there, and I'm not sure what else I missed, but there's just a lot, and just trying to run your IFS system, your budgeting software system, is getting the best of me, but I'll get there. It's just different than what I'm used to. I'm used to an integrated system where you just click, but this is more of you have to run a report to get the information, and I'm not used to having to run a report. I'm used to just going on that account and it tells me everything. So just learning to change and learning the departments and people.
Well, I for one, very happy that she's here and she's off to a terrific start. I'm just very impressed.
Thank you.
Working with Abdo has gone very smoothly. Watching the two softwares starting to get rolled out, the payroll with Kronos, along with the onboarding hiring process for HR in Kronos.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Quesica, which Stacy's going to be in a excellent position to really be the county's lead on that software. And I think this is an advantage of coming in and starting with something new.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts her in a great position, and the board, I think, will see that as we go through the summer. Because you're going to start seeing things coming through Questica that you can view and discuss and help us with the budget.
Mm-hmm. We've got Questica, payroll, other softwares going on. I think I'm anxious to get working with some of the departments on their processes and procedures, even just with the payroll and the timesheets in the current process. There's going to be a lot of things kind of lightened up so that your department heads and some of their staff can focus on other areas than just a lot of paperwork shuffle. And even their cash management and some of those things. It's gonna take a little while to kind of change how we do that, but I think we'll find that you'll get more out of the finance department out to the departments. And once they get confidence in myself and my staff, or our staff, then I think they'll be able to focus, their staff will be able to focus on areas that they can be better served and things that they would like better than some of the things we're doing now, so.
I should add, I had a staff person come to me today, both happy and angry, that, I won't go through the work, I won't identify the person, but the history has been to get a printout and hand enter data for hours, if not days. I don't know how long it takes. And that same spreadsheet now just gets uploaded and it's like done. Literally just hit a button, it's done. And realizing that probably could have been done all these years. This is the kind of thing that just the amount of time some of our people have put in doing menial tasks that are less than efficient and really beg errors to be made. And I think we're going to see a much quicker, more nimble approach to managing our finances. And the audit is going to be a good experience for her with all the work that Abdo put in, cleaning up 2024, which really forced them to go back into 2023. The Hoffman firm has planned on being in right after July 1, but being complete by September 30th. So, you're talking about something that in the past has taken a year to do, and crunching it down into 3 months, which is really what it should be. But I think we're going to find a lot of opportunities for improvement here. There's still some things left out that we're going to have to work on after this, but I think Questica and the Kronos upgrades are going to be tallied by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Hopefully we just kind of have a new feel to it.
It'll shift work away from doing the data entry to managing the data. And, more reviewing it and looking at it. It just changes where the work is being done so that it's not being done on, data entry and things like that. When we can get it up and in there and we can push it out and we can run scenarios easier and we can manage it, you just manage it differently and get it in there. And I really, without Abdo, I don't know that, I know I couldn't, after seeing what I've seen the last few weeks, come in and sorted this out. You needed that expertise to do this and to get us back on track, because it just would have taken too long. And even as we start going into things, as much as everybody's gonna be ready for change will still be hard, because it's gonna be a routine change and kind of questioning why we do things. So I think I've kind of tried to explain to department heads and to staff, this isn't about anybody doing something wrong. This is just about re-asking the question, why are we doing it? Can we do it different? Can we get a different result doing it different? Do we need to be doing it? Who's looking at it? And then can we be doing something else that adds more value to the process than what we were doing before? And those reflections are kind of hard, even for myself. It's always a kind of, okay, do I really need to do it this way? Is there a better way? So that's kind of that, just reassessing and looking at things. So hopefully we'll go okay. But yes, we'll have moments where we go, that was a lot of work and now we can do it this way, or I didn't need to be doing it. That just sometimes happens. So any questions or things I can answer for you? And again, I'm open anytime, and Chuck's open, if you've got questions or thoughts or input.
What year our contract with Hoffman are we in? Are we in the 3rd year?
To be honest, I can't remember.
I think you had one more year, cause we talked about that.
Yeah, I think we.
You got one more year.
2022 to close out the state auditor. So 2024, 25, and 26 audits.
That sounds right.
I think that's the deal.
Okay.
3-year.
Second one?
They're probably, I mean, they're our best option almost by default based on the location. There's others, but with familiarity, it's hard to beat.
Right,
Certainly helpful.
yeah, saves time.
Yeah, and then once they get that audit and we get all those things done, the goal is, we need to keep it up. So audit for 26 will kind of almost virtually, 25, excuse me, will almost virtually start after we get through the budget seasoning, so that we're doing it constantly, so that when it comes around, the books are just cleaner at all the time. That's really the goal. Okay?
Yeah.
Any questions?
No, I mean, starting, kind of almost halfway, things are going to be a little bit pushed.
Yep.
But I think getting into, next year, with knowing where we're kind of going and we have more decisions to make too. But I think to have you here on a quarterly basis, kind of updating where things are going.
Yep.
And what needs to be done and at least where we're at.
Yep.
As we start planning 27
Yep. Yeah, and that,
sooner than we think.
yeah, and that will be a goal as well, once we get this Questic rolled out, is starting to look at 3-year projections. We should really be looking at that 3-year, but I need to kind of get a good base
Yeah.
going first. But as we push out, it'll be easier to roll out some scenarios just for chance and for sake of that, as well. And then once we kind of can look back, and I think I've spoken to Chuck a little bit too as well, I will refer back to fund balance and not cash. So we'll want to look at fund balance as we go forward and kind of start having those conversations. As terms of budgets, but the focus needs to be more on fund balance and not cash.
I agree.
Yeah. Positive moving forward.
Yeah, one
Anytime
step at a
you want
time.
her in front of the board, she's available and she's probably gonna be in front of you on various things regardless, so.
Yep, and we'll have updates for you. So, okay?
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. I'm gonna go back to running. Thank you.
Thanks. Sarah?
Quite a turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to scroll up to get to your.
Okay,
things. We
perfect.
skipped you.
Oh, well, it's all good. Let's see.
Yeah, that's quite a change.
Around page 65, I think, maybe.
Okay, so I'm gonna do this one first, and then Alex and Danielle are here with me for the second one. So the first request is for out-of-state travel. So 2 things that I wanted to mention as it relates to out-of-state travel. So first is requesting for Cody Lehman, our new community health supervisor, to attend the CADCA mid-year training institute. Our state funding allows for 3 people to participate, and we had only allocated for 2 to go. And I didn't know if timing would work out and so on and so forth. So the state did approve for her to participate. All of the funds are paid for by our cannabis and substance use prevention fund, so there's not county tax dollars involved. So I would ask for approval for her to participate in the CADCA mid-year training institute. And then the second item is just to give you a little bit of an update. Back in, I can't remember if it was January or February, I had requested out-of-state travel for myself and Angel Corinta to attend the NACHO conference, which is the National Association for City and County Health Officials. And that's also in July, and our plans have changed. So just wanted to let you know that we are not planning to participate in that this year and might consider it for another year. But this year we just had too many irons in the fire. So we are not planning to go. So at the end of the day, looking for a motion to approve out-of-state travel for Cody Lehman to attend the Mid-Year Training Institute in Nashville in July.
So moved.
Okay, Gary?
Second.
Seconded by Warren. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. All right, the second item is our Dental Innovations Coordinator for Northwest Minnesota. And so I have invited Alex and Danielle, and I'll have them introduce themselves. Just want to give you a little review about what we've been doing with dental health in our region. So I'll turn it over to you. So whoever wants to begin, and if you want me to move the images on here, I can certainly do that if you reference any of those. So
Awesome.
after you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Good afternoon. My name is Alex Orvik. I am the Dental Innovations Coordinator for Northwest Minnesota. So what I did here is I wanted to showcase kind of what our dental landscape looked like before I started. This would be before 2023. As you can see, we've got our clinics that accept medical assistance, being Spectra Health in Grand Forks and Northern Dental Access Center in Bemidji and Halstead. And then that red square in Crookston is going to be our very first Children's Dental Services mobile clinic that we had. That was established before I came on by the previous dental coordinator. And then since I've started, this will be our new one, since 2023, in the 2 years I've been here, this is just showcasing kind of what our dental landscape looks like now. Certainly we've come a long ways. There's a lot of work to do. We still have those clinics that accept MA in Grand Forks, Bemidji, Halstead, and then they added another clinic for Northern Dental in Bagley. But what we kind of wanted to show you is all the clinics that are coming to our schools and seeing kids where they're at, so parents don't have to take off work. And then we also want to expand on our children's dental services clinics. So aside from just being in our normal region, we've expanded to Rosa, Warroad, and Baudette. And our hope is to expand that to Kitson County as well. We're in the process of that right now with Delta Dental of Minnesota as a partner. And then on the horizon, we have a few more projects with Delta Dental coming up. Right now, we just received toothbrushes and toothpaste from Delta Dental to hand out to daycare and childcare centers in Polk County. So that's going to be our first pilot project with them. That's not on here, but we did just get that approved within the last few weeks. I have the toothbrushes, I have the toothpaste, and I'm working with Barbara Durden to hand those out in Polk County as well as some dental education. So we are still doing a lot of work with that. And then on here, we just wanted to showcase kind of the numbers that we have. You'll see that we've had 54 hygiene clinics where we've served 239 children and 63 adults. That number is already wrong because we've had more hygiene clinics since this board meeting. We're continuing to hopefully have them once a month, if not more. And then with that, we also have restorative clinics where we have a dental therapist come to the location and perform fillings, extractions, anything like that. And right there, you can see we've served 145 children and 18 adults. And that number will go up again in July. We have another restorative clinic set up. And then the Minnesota School Sealant Program. So if you go back up to the map, you'll see the yellow dots. That's the Minnesota School Sealant Program where they go to the school and they see the kids. They've seen 402 children across 13 schools, which is crazy. And that's not every school that we have. So we're working on expanding that as well. So hopefully in another year, this map will show a lot more dots on it regarding that, as well as our children's dental clinics.
And do you want to just explain that how CDS does serve everyone across the age?
I'm sorry.
No,
yeah.
you're good. That's
I'm glad
okay.
you mentioned that.
That's okay.
So Children's Dental Services, they're a mobile clinic based out of the Twin Cities where they have 2 bricks and mortar locations. They also have a location in Duluth now. And what they do is they contract out with local hygienists to come to our region, and they'll have the equipment with them. We just provide a space where they're able to work in and where we have water for them to utilize. And they come, they see the kids, they handle all the scheduling. What I do is I do the advertising, I push it out, I help families, find out if their insurance will cover it, which if they have MA, it will. We also see some private pay as well. These are primarily aimed at those on MA, just because those with private insurance have typically a better time finding a dentist in our region.
I can go. Hello, I'm Danielle Alida. I'm from Blue Cross Blue Shield. I oversee the dental coordinator program for Blue Plus. So Blue Plus has 6 coordinator positions at this time across 6 regions. And I am here kind of in a twofold spot. One, as a thank you to all of you, and then also to highlight Alex's work. The thank you is that this program got started in 2020 thanks to the innovative willingness of the board and when Sarah Reese came forward to really move this ahead. At the time, we certainly did not see the pandemic coming through and how that would impact the work, but I really believe that this is very much a long game, that the dental landscape, not only in this region, across the state and across the nation, requires long-term planning. It requires somebody to really be a dental champion. And the fact that this board moved forward with really starting that innovative work, I think we are now 5 years in, really seeing how putting the time and effort into that can really make a difference. So that's really kind of my first piece is thank you to all of you. Thank you to Sarah. This would not be what it is without that willingness to take the risk and see where we could go with this. And it's changed a little bit over time. The second part is to say that the work that Alex has done has been no small feat. We are seeing this, like I said, in 6 regions across the state. So we have a dental coordinator in the northeast part of the state in Region 3 over by St. Louis County, down in the southwest, out of Nobles County and the surrounding region in the southwest 8, in 7 West, which would be like Benton, Stearns, Wright County, Morrison County in that area, and then also in the Clay County region of like Becker, Wilkin, and Otter Tail County. And so to really just to highlight the work that Alex has done, getting dental to anywhere in greater Minnesota is always a challenge. But also having Children's Dental has been an incredible partner, and I think the work that Alex has done, not only to coordinate, to support the work that Children's Dental is doing, but he has been an incredible partner to multiple systems. And what I have always kind of said about this program is that to address the dental need in our state and really everywhere is that we need more people at the table, more systems coming together to understand how best to meet the needs of everyone. This impacts everyone. When you go to the emergency department, longer waits if people are needing to go to get a dental issue addressed in the emergency room when they could have done it from a preventative. And so that starts with the children, the school sealant program, and continues to move up from there. This is, a regional project, and the reason that it's a regional is that when we look at heat maps of how far people are going to access care, we know that they're traveling hundreds of miles sometimes for specialty care, but it's not out of the realm for them to be traveling across county lines. So addressing these in spaces like Lake of the Woods County or Kittson County opens up the opportunity for more people in Polk County to see their providers, and also for those people in those other counties to see somebody that's a closer fit for them and can potentially work to be a dental home. So I really wanted to highlight the fact that the work that Alex has done has been an incredible support not only to this region, but he's also sharing with our other dental coordinators, and it makes for better work across the state, which has not gone unnoticed by our dental vendor, Delta Dental, and then also the Department of Health has also been really working, as well as the Minnesota Oral Health Coalition, working alongside all of our dental coordinators. Thank you.
Do you have any questions or comments for us?
I hope that the sealant program will be extending over to the eastern part of the county.
For sure, yeah. We've already been in talks, so.
Yes, the work around dental health is really sort of a phone a friend, and we are constantly bringing on new partners when they're ready. Sometimes we make we reach out and they're not ready, or the timing's not right, or we don't have access to the appropriate provider. So we're constantly having conversations with providers that are in our region about their needs, their future needs, right? Because there's there's the economic aspect of this, there's the folks wanting to retire but no one able to replace them aspect of it, there's folks that might be wanting to have a transition in their career. So there's like all of these layers, and then there's just literally the sheer access element. And so we are, I would say we're a niche of all of the bigger picture, and trying to have impact where we can with some of the most vulnerable individuals that really have transportation and other access issues, to prevent ER visits. And obviously dental health is part of our whole body. So we appreciate our partnership with Blue Plus and Delta Dental and CDS and all of the partners, the schools, the communities that welcome us in. People really care about this issue and have lived and heard and seen all of the difficult situations people have navigated through. So it's great to be on the front end of the conversation when we can be. So, and connecting people to care if they need it outside of our region. Oftentimes there's specialty care that isn't available here because it's just literally not available. And so Alex also does a great job of connecting folks to appropriate resources wherever that might be. And oftentimes we have to get a little creative for that. So that's great too. So we appreciate the partnership and all of the work that Alex is doing.
Definitely.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want this back?
You too.
Yes, thanks.
Did you do your housekeeping?
Yep, I did it first. We're good. Thank you.
Your guys' names and titles. Yes.
Maybe you the mouse.
You're looking for a ride, and you never going in.
Perfect, thanks. Thank you.
I forgot something. Shocking. The Jennifer tracks me.
That's a bright.
about my whereabouts than I do sometimes.
Well, that happens.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See you later. Okay,
All right, yeah, it was promised last time. I've got
You got one left.
one final abatement, and hopefully you guys, I'm sure you're getting sick of my face over here. So, we have one abatement request. Well, it's over the course of 2 years. And this one is in Huntsville Township. It's the Simplot Fertilizer Facility over south of Highway 2 over there, and a couple miles east of East Grand Forks. And it's the same issue as those other two. This is over the course of 2 years. The first one is for tax year 2024. That'll require a refund of $22,910. And the second one is for tax year 2025, and we'll send in a new tax statement, and I imagine they paid half of theirs already. And whatever, this will be deducted from the remainder. Any questions on this?
so looking for a motion.
I will move. I'll get it off your desk.
I will appreciate it.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion by Paul, seconded by Warren. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
All right. That's all I have.
One other thought, there's some apartment tax problems in East Grand Forks have been sold. You know that?
Oh, what's that?
All of the, what is it, can't remember. What?
Green Acres.
Green Acres property has been sold.
Oh, okay.
And that's close to $250,000 in tax payments that hadn't been made. So,
That wouldn't have anything to do with the assessor's office,
Okay.
so.
no, okay, that has to do with Sam's office.
There you go, Warren.
Maybe you can talk about that a bit, but that is about the right number, isn't it? Close to $250,000
Yes.
in arrears taxing that wasn't made.
Up here, 'cause you're next.
Yeah, there's not much to discuss, it's their delinquent tax that that needs to be paid before the transfer of the property, so. I haven't looked to see if anything has gone through, this is the first I've heard that they were selling.
Yeah. Well, yeah, two younger guys, and had some Bemidji background to them, and I think maybe even a Crookston background way back when, but I think they're working with Dad's money and purchased a whole lot of stuff there. All right, thank you.
We'll see you tonight. Hopefully it'll be a quick night.
Yeah.
We've only got
That's the
four,
plan.
4 appointments and then 2 recommendations, so. hopefully
Great.
it'll be quick.
Short, sweet, and to the
That'd be
point.
good.
So, all right, see you then.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
All right, so what I have is a resolution looking for reauthorization to be what they call the Iowa, the identified official with authority for Polk County. It's who's responsible for assigning jobs and duties within this new Department of Education website. It's basically so we can do our reporting.
Do you want the job?
Anna Lee has to do all the work.
Oh,
I'm just the official with authority to let her do
Oh,
the
sure.
work. I know the DOR has talked to MDE about their requirement that this come back annually. You know, trying to get it so that once appointed, it can stay.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully this would be the second and last time that I have to ask for this appointment, but as of now, it does need to be renewed annually, so just looking for a motion or a motion to pass this resolution.
Okay.
So move.
Second.
Warren and Gary, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you very
Yep,
much.
thank you.
If I said aye, would that cover Mark? No, dang, no. Good afternoon,
Hello,
Mr. Whiting.
nice to see you all again.
How was your vacation?
It was good,
Awesome.
it was
Good-
great.
good to hear.
It was good, I liked it.
Good deal.
So I've got a couple of things here and we can discuss it. First is the approval of a full disclosure dissemination agent agreement with Northland Securities. I kind of touched on this in my memo, but a few weeks ago I talked with Abdo about kind of some of the things that I think we'll want to be deciding on in the future, and one that has been kind of a little bit of an awkward issue from my standpoint, not necessarily the board's, has been that we have, at least for the last dozen years, used 2 different financial advisors when coming to issuing debt. So when their staffs change annually, sometimes has happened, had to step in because one becomes the agent that does the reporting on the county's debt, which means one firm is doing it for the other's debt that was issued. It's not a big deal. It's relatively routine. There's a small fee to it. I think you can see in the agreement here with Northland that it caps at $3,000 a year, at least for the next couple of years. So I'm talking to Gene at Abdo. I thought, maybe the thing to do is to start fresh with a new financial advisor. There's been a lot of turnover at Baker Tilly. It used to be Springstead. They keep getting larger and larger. I thought the last bond issue, while good, was ponderous at times. We've had good relationships with PFM, they've done ditch work for us. And of course, next time we have a debt issuance, we can choose between them. Or what I would suggest is we start with a single one, doing some advising with us, for us, while we don't have any debt to issue right now. And start by taking up the fiscal agent agreement. 3 weeks ago, I met with a representative from Northland online with Stacy and with Jean and Annette from Habdo. And one of the things I was taken with was that as we develop our own financial analysis of how we're doing in our long-term planning, that's something that they can assist us on and be familiar with. They certainly have been around. I've never worked with them. They're in Minneapolis. I certainly know of them. But there's nobody there that I'm familiar with. But perhaps considering all the other new things that we're doing with software, the new finance director using Abdo, the audit and so forth, maybe this would be an opportunity to start fresh on a financial advisor as well. Looking out, at some point in time, I could see us having discussions about a public works building. So I mean, I don't want to not say that, but I don't know that that's going to be something that happens in my tenure here. But that's the kind of thing that you'd want some advice on and some analysis of, and kind of work through numbers in addition to just what ends up being a relatively straightforward bond sale. So the agreement itself, again, caps out at $3,000 for each of the next 2 years. We do have an out, and it does not tie the county into doing future debt with Northland. We can still do it with whomever the board would want at the time. So that's kind of my recommendation, is to go with what's presented here. I'll try to answer any questions. I'm not an expert at this sort of thing, but generally speaking, when this gets done each year, I get notified that it's going on, and then I get a bill. That's about it.
It just, the way it sounds is it's gonna make you feel more comfortable with moving forward in that, and that.
I think it's a good piece.
Yeah.
I talked to Chuck Upcraft at PFM. I like Chuck. He's a good guy. I said, I'm looking at doing this. He understood and appreciated our business, and I said, hey, it's not like either of us are going away. We're gonna start this. And when we've done the two bond issues, first with Springstead, which then got bought out by Baker Tilly, we've done a fiscal analysis of the solid waste program both times, because frankly I think we've needed that to have some third-party analysis of where we're going. I'm confident that these folks can do it, and if not, I think we can find folks that can. Again, that's a little bit different type of bond because it's a revenue type of enterprise operation as opposed to a levy debt. But with our final bond payment on the jail next year, we're going to be sitting there with a couple of small capital improvement bonds to pay off, and I think we're going to want to have some discussion about where the county is going over the next 3, 5, 10 years, because not all of us are going to be around forever.
Okay, so looking for a motion to approve going with Northland Securities.
I think it's a good plan. I will move approval.
Okay, Gary,
Oh, second.
seconded by Paul. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? carried.
Thank you for that. The next item I have is Resolution 2025-40. Further amending Resolution 2024-76 designating American Rescue Plan Act funds for eligible expenses. So the good people in Mentor, the city and the fire department, board may remember, we did an ARPA subrecipient agreement with them to provide some money to pay for a generator to help with a shelter, severe weather shelter there. The fire department worked on it. It got very complicated for them. I don't want to say unbeknownst to me because they kept informing me of it. They had some issues with the contractor that got resolved. The contractor did a very nice job at reconciling some of the issues. The long story, or I'll make it short, they ended up not spending all the money that we gave them. They ended up with $2,384.40, and they sent us a check. So we have that. But like the funds from the Agassiz project, Agassiz Learning Center project a few months ago, we need to account for that by board action and designate those funds to cover eligible expenses prior to December 31st of 2024, which, if you recall, we did. In Sheriff's Department expenses, mostly wages, were those eligible expenses. So I don't foresee anybody returning any funds to us after this. This wasn't really seeing this one coming. But a simple resolution, just accepting that, and we'll put it in the same basket as the other funds, and as the 2024 audit gets done, this will be part of that.
Oh, good, cause, okay,
Yeah.
that was my question.
Yeah, that's how that'll get accounted for. And we're still doing the reporting to Treasury on use of ARPA funds, so eventually it'll all be, it's essentially already finished, but the reporting is gonna have to go on for a while.
Sure.
So
I
my,
move.
yeah, there you go.
Okay. Paul,
Second.
seconded by Warren. Did we already receive any funds back from UMC on that?
Yeah, I thought we took care of that.
I don't know, I
Yeah,
I think we did too.
I thought
We were looking for it, I don't know.
Did it come in?
I don't know if it's been
Good question.
deposited.
Let me
See.
check.
yeah, cause I just,
I think we did that at the same time we did the Agassiz
Yeah, I think you're right,
resolution.
I think.
yeah,
We acted on it.
Yeah, we acted on it, but whether we received it yet or not.
That
I
may be a
remember them
different
telling me
question.
that it wasn't gonna be done until June, but then it was, all of a sudden it was done, and we got to check. I'm pretty sure we dealt with that in the prior resolution.
okay. Any other discussion? So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Last time I have, just for general discussion, is any time, you can spend as much time as you'd like on preliminary goals for the 2026 budget. We've got a few things, I kind of made myself a list here to try to keep track of these things as we kick this off. Obviously, we've got some software things taking place, we've got the 2024 audit and some of the things that Stacy talked about. So we're moving right now at doing some changes for the end of this year. We will have a couple other softwares in place. Probably more for visioning, certainly the capability of it through modeling than we've maybe had in the past. Just off the top of my head on my list, a few things that you're aware of. I mentioned that the last payment on the jail bonds will be next spring. So we'll have one more levy for that. That's about $1,300,000, $1,400,000. That'll be certainly play into some of our longer term planning. I'm just gonna tick through a few things that I wanna note here. We're working from a staff standpoint to back out of the merit system. Merit is Human Services hiring process or kind of a vetting process for social services positions. A lot of counties are pulling out of this. Our cost for belonging to that for next year is $43,000, and what happens is as counties go out, the costs stay the same, and the rest of the counties end up paying more. But we can do this work internally, and particularly if we make the other improvements in Kronos, we should be we're capable of handling it. Looking to end the use of the AS400 that I've talked about before. That's the old IBM computer, but that means getting the softwares off of there. Paymate is certainly one of them. IFS is going to be the dog I think that we end up having to deal with a little bit there, but we are looking at migrating that to a Windows-based platform, which means we can get it off the AS400. I think we're gonna want to have some discussion as the summer goes on, maybe into the fall, about what isn't going to happen with the immediate Abdo and software work. Still have IFS going into next year. We have not touched on asset allocation or capital improvement planning, and I think we will want to have maybe a good discussion on what does that mean going forward. You heard Stacy just kind of comment, because she's just noticed how many different softwares we have, which means multiple vendors, which means somebody's got to figure out how to make it all work together. And I'm not surprised when she says I'm used to working with an integrated system. A school district, that's probably going to be more likely. But we've had lots of conversations about integrating non-integrated softwares in the past. So I think we're going to have a few things maybe to look at there. I think one of you may have brought it up, but I watched some of the meeting. Did you had some discussion with Rich about highway bonds, where he's at on that? One of the decisions, if we do end up looking at like a new public works facility, there is some connection between highway funds and a debt for such a building. I think we need to look at that, but we may want to have deeper discussion. You're not going to have this for 2026 because he and I are not bringing it up, and this would be, I believe, the last meeting of the year to do it, on whether you want to raise a wheel tax to do such a thing. It would be premature to talk about it now anyway, but that might be a way to help fund some of the debt without using the levy. We got some staff things to deal with. May have a little bit of turnover, still looking at working with Ashley, my admin assistant in the office, and Stacy on how we handle MCIT claims. It's just everywhere around the organization. We should probably have that managed a little bit more precisely, including the asset list for what is insured, which gets back to that asset issue that I raised. I think one thing that I've talked with the personnel committee about and with Elisa and HR is looking for consulting services on health insurance. not a broker, not somebody who gets a commission off a premium, but somebody that really analyzes health insurance proposals to us to make sure we're getting something that's affordable. We're locked in with Blue Cross Blue Shield till the end of 2027, so we have time to do this. But I think as complicated as and as much as this has increased in costs, when we get into 2027, and I mean early in 2027, we're gonna wanna have a game plan for affordability going forward. Our collective bargaining agreements approved within the last year end with a $750 a month increase per employee over where we were in 2024. So it's coming right at us. I see nothing in the ether out there about what the future of health insurance is gonna be for this kind of thing. But I think we're gonna have to really be on top of that one.
Does that person do the negotiation for companies?
I think, I used one when I was in Wisconsin, and essentially, we're a little different there. We were truly self-insured. I mean, we were buying reinsurance, stop loss, aggregate, that kind of thing. And when I was trying to deal with it, I'm calling firms in Chicago, and just imagine these big, tall, expensive buildings. No idea how you get a good rate, other than they have the actuarial numbers and then they have the salesman numbers.
Yep.
And you're only talking to the salesman.
Correct.
And it's probably the most important benefit we've got here. For some, even more important than the wages on some of these positions. So, yeah, I think it is an avenue to really hone in on. The other choice would be, we go back to the co-op, we use them. And I think we're going to want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But I know even while we were with the co-op, they were doing some things to try to keep Polk County in their group, so we were really one of the bigger employers. There's just no getting around it. It's just it's just such a huge thing. We're a good group, and we now have a family. We should be an attractive group. But all our work last year looking at Pete, Medica, the co-op, anything other than the Blue Cross Blue Shield renewal was still the lowest one we had. But we're only, as staff, we're only capable of looking at it in so much depth. I mentioned software for accounting. I think we would be looking at a market analysis next year on wages again. I mean, it's already coming up. It's the middle year of the 3-year agreement. I've had some discussion with Elisa about perhaps, I think with the personnel committee, about moving that up, even trying to complete it before the end of this year. If we have to do some implementation for next year, perhaps maybe as things are kind of changing a little bit, we might be in a little better position than we were 6 months ago in terms of hiring. But we can do that on a relatively short basis if we have to. I think maybe by end of September, we'll probably have some discussions of whether to do that or not. Trying to make sure we remember we had the settlement on the juvenile center bonds. Those should be put into the bond payment account.
Yes.
I think we'll have some discussion about do we use all of it, some of it, do we have a plan for it? Relative to the levy and to the jail bonds going away, how we use those relative to the 2026 levy, I think that'll be a real management type of decision we make here.
I would just about pay for the balance of the bonds that were sold for the jail roof, or for the Justice Correction Center, but juvenile center.
It won't, but it can go a long ways towards mitigating the levy.
Was like 1.3 million total, wasn't it?
Well, the bond itself was almost 3 because we did other things.
Okay, that's
So the,
right.
the portion of the bond that was the juvenile center it's not a 1-to-1, it's gonna be about a 1-to-3 coverage. But how much of that one do we use going
Yeah.
into 2026? That'll be relative really to our bond payments. I'm kind of thinking, if we can just pick up the bond payment and we don't have to levy for that. We're gonna have to levy for it at some point, but if we do that after the jail bonds are paid off. So then it
Okay,
doesn't
I think that money
spike
should
our
be used
levy.
for some capital expense rather than just general operating.
It should be used for the bond payments.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's what it should be
yeah,
used
yeah,
for.
that's what I
Yeah,
say.
otherwise you're just doing this,
yeah.
Let's see. I think the Quesica software will probably give us some opportunity to be visioning about some things. Remember when we agreed to that, it was a 3-year rollout, so there's gonna be the basic stuff for 2026 budget. There'll probably be more that we can do in 2026 or 2027, so we'll wanna get familiar with what it can tell us once we get it organized. I think we're gonna wanna do a banking RFP at some point, or a negotiated services agreement. I've talked a little bit with Abdo about it, that was something that came up back in 2016 when we had them in. And we clearly have not taken advantage of what's available to us.
I agree.
That has been picking up a little bit as we've been moving on, but we may want to formalize that. I don't know if that's a budget thing, but I think it's something that's going to be part of some
Fiscally
discussions.
responsible.
Well, yeah, I mean,
did it.
it's almost questionable. I know we've done a lot of the automated check scanners. I watched Heather doing it last week. It's a big wad of checks, just goes through and that's it. As opposed to however we were doing it before and driving to the bank and all that stuff. Employee succession planning is always an issue. I do think we will probably have some management turnover, but I'm not prepared to say what. I'm not sure myself. I'm not talking about me, I'm just talking about in general. But we see this, and I think we've done a good job, solid waste and Sheriff's Department to kind of get the entry level up. Jim mentioned the promotion of the community services officer today, so that it's nice to see that kind of
That's
stuff
good.
work, We clearly need an investment money management plan. And I'm hoping we were able to come back sometime this summer after working with Abdo a little bit about getting somebody in here, having some discussion. This might mean getting the finance committee together and kind of going through it with some focus about what
That's
can be
still
done.
another fiscal responsibility, I think.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And frankly, it can help us with the levy.
Right.
We should be making money on the funds we have as best as we can. It does
Bounce.
fit into that fiscal analysis, the whole cash flow, the revenue and expenditure flows, and it's basic. I don't want to say it's basic stuff because a lot of places don't get to it, but we're big enough to do that. Still don't quite know what, the impacts of the federal budget is going to be. I know even with the state budget, there was a lot of concern about costs being pushed to the counties, and some of that may be indirectly. Not sure what the big Medicaid cuts are gonna mean, that kind of thing. No, I have no idea. I just think it's something we're gonna have to be very
I mean,
aware
the
of.
state, you know, we didn't see all the shifts that initially were proposed. I mean, there's still some, but they're not as drastic as what, you know, we were looking at initially. But it will still be a hit.
Still dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, and like with the Medicaid, you know, if there's changes that are made at the federal level, then the state will have to look at doing another special session to deal with that, because it'll change budget going forward.
I have a gut feeling that we're gonna see the little hit, and next year we're gonna see another little hit, or maybe a little bit bigger hit. That's just my gut feeling from what you see.
Well, we may not see it directly. We may see it in nursing homes. We may
Correct.
see it in the hospitals.
Correct.
We may see people
The
coming to us
providers,
because they can't pay their bills, that kind of things. We'll
Will
have to see what it
inadvertently
is.
affect us.
Yeah.
The two parties have, they're talking differently. The Democrats are gonna big cuts and the Republicans, no, it's not, it's just gonna be a cleanup of some problems that should have been taken care of. People weren't actually eligible. And it's just a political thing that's,
Well, I'm not seeing anything that says it's gonna reduce the deficit,
no,
which I think some people can get behind if it's gonna do that, but if it's not gonna do that, then I'm not sure
Right.
what the. Anyway, I work for you guys and I just have to deal with the results of it.
Of the results of, yep, you're right.
Population changes, we never really talk about this a whole lot. I don't think it's a huge surprise, but the population continues to just kind of shrink. I mean, it's not huge, and we're dealing with demographer estimates, the in-between census numbers, but I think we're now under 31,000 people. And of course, I'm sure it's an aging.
Well, the aging groups, that's the significant, that numbers of 25 to 35 we're very low.
Oh.
And above 50 is very high.
We probably see it most directly then in the social services and maybe to some degree public health, but.
isn't there some funding difference that occurs when you get under 30? Isn't there some,
Depends on what the
Lasso.
threshold is. There's so many of them, I don't know, Warren.
I think I've heard that for years, that 30 was the magic number, you didn't stay above that for some
30,
amount
oh,
of funding.
30,000.
I don't
be
know.
good to know.
There's so many sources of revenue, I'm not sure which one that would apply to.
There's good information though on that census, and
Mm-hmm.
we really need to look at that for planning.
Yeah. You've got the huge effort that's gonna take place with the ditch redetermination of
Yeah.
benefits. And that is it's more than once in a generation, if a lot of this hasn't been done since 1905. Once a century type of thing. You'll be pretty busy, it'll be a busy summer, but boy, I commend you and Rich. I mean, that's gonna be appropriate, overdue, and I think everybody's gonna learn a lot about how this gets done. And I'm optimistic because I think landowners may look at it and see the rationale and say, I can see that. I do think we're gonna want to spend some time then on what we always get audited on about our balances. And I know Abdo and Colleen have had some discussions about that. I think Sam and Stacy are aware of it. We're just gonna need to have an approach to that. And I'm gonna throw this in too, because we have some buildings that probably, I say we, the county owns some tax forfeited buildings that aren't gonna be cheap to deal with. But we don't have a real plan to deal with them. And I think we may need to have some discussion about what to do about that.
Some closed schools is the biggest issue.
There's just we just have to be mindful
Yeah.
of this. I mean, you were around with the Wayne hotels before I got here, but I mean, I could see the red number in the audit for
Oh, that
years.
was, yeah.
And it's like it can be like that. It ends up having a lot of facets to the issue besides the money. But I think it's probably for another day.
Yeah.
Commissioners, we're kind of hoping the state would help us with that, but I don't see that in the near future.
Yeah, and state help sometimes isn't always. The only other thing off my initial list, and this will grow as we go, is Polk, Norman, and Clay have put now $500,000 into the West Central Regional Water District. They may get themselves formed here, I think this year, as a legal entity. And there's been a lot of discussion at their meetings about how you build out, and there's gonna be some money coming from is it EPA, I think? It's still, in my mind, kinda hard to see them getting off the ground. If they gotta hire somebody, if they gotta buy a truck, if they've gotta do something. Cause right now I don't see any operating costs, so I'm not saying that I know anything in particular. You guys go to the meetings, I wasn't at the last one, but once that thing is formed, I mean, there may be more to come. I just don't know where the operating
The
expenses
only thing is the one grant that they're hoping on, and it's got held for, what, 6 months, maybe a year?
I mean, yeah, for the line between
Yeah,
Climax and Neilsville.
Yeah, the federal one.
Well, I thought that had already been approved,
Oh, it might have been.
but I'm not sure, just,
They're banking on some of these little towns that are getting their grants, and that's their buy-in. You know, what did they say? They were a total of 3 million maybe?
yeah, something in that, yeah.
And they gotta see it, otherwise we're stalled right here.
You know, these little towns, they aren't gonna be able to afford that. And the county is not on the line for it.
No.
It's supposed to be user paid for, have grant and user paid for.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen, I don't suppose the grant thing is gonna be all that obvious or,
Well, I think a lot of the grants, or a grant comes in for a project. That's not operating.
yeah,
Were you at the last meeting with me, right? And when we were talking there about that, I says, you guys, at the pace we're going right now, 1 year, we're talking already 2027 before we fully are formed, maybe before you can even dig a hole. Because of the grant funding and the state and federal funding that has been held. Cause we don't have it yet,
no,
and it's not in our hand, and they know what they need
Yeah.
to get it off the ground. And we're on the hook the biggest.
Well, we've got
Not anymore.
we've got the biggest population.
Right.
And
We have the most vested, I should say.
Well, Polk County put the federal ARPA money.
Yes.
We could use it for something else, but we put it into the climax
Yep,
crossing, which
yep.
really makes this possible.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's a bad project, it doesn't in
No,
the future. I'm just saying that at some point, is that gonna come back? And I'm not budgeting anything for it next year.
No.
I'm just saying, you know, when you two are the appointees on there, I think we still need
We're
two.
almost there.
But I do think that's gonna take a disproportionate amount of time and attention until this thing is up and running.
Didn't you make the comment, just adding to this, didn't you make the comment there that this could be possibly broken into 3 sections?
Well, just amount to it, it'd be 3 river crossings.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And our river crossing is done. We're the most apt to, in this this development of this district, we're the closest to go. The other ones are not even near the
Dream.
go. They're still dreaming, yeah.
And Norman County, well, it depends on this dairy operation in
Bingo.
North Dakota. If that doesn't happen,
Yeah,
I can't see that line crossing happening.
they said at our last meeting that they're this close, but,
Well, they've gotten all the permits from North Dakota for the,
right. But
but
I don't think they got any of their grants
no.
and or their federal backing. And if they don't get that, that's gonna be halted for another year. This is where I'm getting at. Could be another year, could be another 2 years. But our section is golden. I shouldn't say
Well,
that.
we still have this, the water's coming to climax.
Right.
That's as far as it's able to go. There isn't a penny for it to go
No,
anywhere else.
Nowhere else, right.
But this is the nature of this stuff. You know, these things don't just happen. It takes time. You know, and it might be a 10-year rollout in order to get 3 communities in on a system, but then you might have 25 in the next 10 years.
And you weren't at that last meeting, then they had a very good explanation of rollout times. Remember
Yeah.
that? 2020.
Pretty
2000
optimistic.
Yeah, 2034 in Beltrami to Fertile. That's 9 years yet.
34.
I'm gonna be dead by then, maybe.
Then we won't need the water.
I won't need it.
Well, I just throw it out there because it shouldn't be forgotten.
Correct.
And I do think I think Polk County is in a advantageous position relative to Norman. Norman's got the Hillsborough thing.
Well, and Shelley doesn't have any interest in it.
Yeah.
That means that anything going south from Neilsville is not likely to
Not
happen.
likely gonna happen.
Right? Well, and Clay,
Curly's in the need, but they ain't gonna be able to do it without Shelley.
No,
but there's a lot of people that want water. And I think we still have the highest population of that area. And, you know, there's a couple, maybe 3 very attractive areas to shinny up to. 2 of them would have their own water systems because they're communities, but, you know, there's others, you know, whether it's the lakes area or something that could drive some of this. I mean, you got the city of Crookston right here too, which,
yeah.
you know, but I don't want to get off on that. It was a long thing. I got it at the end of my list because, you know, you just don't know what's going to come. But
Oh, they're fully aware that we're not, it even came up last meeting that nobody's donating anymore. Until.
Don't need it in the budget for 26.
No, then we don't,
Or 26.
that's exactly what I'm getting at.
if there's any donations, it's not going to go past county lines. This would be what I would think.
Sometimes get the idea that between the engineering firm and the Halsted
I agree,
water and light guy, they are pushing this thing harder than heck.
hard, very hard.
Yeah.
Well, I will admit, I mean, I go to almost all the meetings. You can see it, but can you do it? And you can't do it if you don't try, but it, it doesn't mean that it can be done.
The bills from the engineer and from the attorney, I just keep running, coming and coming and going.
We gotta get the judge to say you're.
Oh, you know what? I don't think I spoke on it, but speaking of this, the Beltrami, they came to Beltrami.
Mhm.
And I went to that meeting. And it was like, they just reminded us, geez, you guys, I don't know if we can afford it. But they came on like gangbusters. And at the end of the meeting, I told them, I says, you guys, you're scaring the daylights out of these people. You gotta give them some hope or something that this is worth their investment to even look into it. Because they scared them to death, and I told them this during the meeting, and then afterwards I went and talked to, who's the guy from Climax?
Oh, Brian Evenson.
and Lucas. And I says, you guys, you just scared the daylights out of them people. But at least we got a little bit better, they got a little bit better understanding of what might. So,
It'll make the most sense to a community that's faced with having to replace its water tower.
bingo.
Yeah.
And they don't have one, so.
Yeah.
But they also have a great big business there.
They do, they got a very good fire department.
Yep, and the CHS uses more water than the whole city combined.
Anyway, there'll be a lot more to come. Data input into Quesica is going to be behind what we're used to with what we've done before, but the objective is by the 30th of this month that they're able to pull over all the HR data, which means department heads won't have to do that, which will be a huge thing. And then within 2 weeks after that, here's your data input. Stacy mentioned that she contacted each department today to, because it isn't always the department head that's entering the data. Sometimes it's their finance person. Some department heads don't have a finance person. So we're just trying to get the list and, working with the Questica people. I mean, I listened for an hour until I had to come into the social services board meeting today.
I was very pleased with your comment about you had the employee, without divulging who it was, but they were happy and mad at the same time. Took me a second to catch on to that, but that is what I expected to happen.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be great because you're gonna get more of those.
Well,
Or the word is gonna get out that.
yeah, and I don't deal with the how,
Yeah.
but whenever you've got a computerized database that you're hand keying into something else, I mean, I'm just amazed at our employees. I've told them they're so diligent that they will do that. But I mean, somebody raise your hand and say, "There's an easier way of doing this." We were doing it in payroll. We were doing it at this other area, and but it cuts down on the amount of work. And I know we had a net out here. It's probably been 6 weeks ago now, and just for a couple of days, I think when we were interviewing for Stacy, and she found 3 different data sets that were being maintained, and we just don't have to do that at all. But
I'm really impressed by her.
well, I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
I am. I mean, this is my 8th place I've worked, and I'm already thinking this is the best I've had for a finance director. And I don't mean that this being disparaging to anybody that I've worked with or hired, but she's got the mindset. And
Is she planning to work here or from home or from our East Grand Forks
I
office?
let her, she's got a computer, she can do it from anywhere, but she's pretty good about getting here because, she's getting to know the crew, but,
Yeah.
got a family, gotta deal with that. And
Well, we've got room in that East Grand Forks office building for her.
we've already dealt with it, Warren, we know what we're doing.
Yeah,
We've got office space over there, but the laptop,
Well, we set up an office for her here and just approved for some
yeah.
business expenses.
Well, she should be here some,
Yes,
a good percentage of the time,
you have to work it out.
yeah. But no,
I'll
that's
worry
about
about
a
it.
180-degree difference from what we just had.
well, I don't wanna go there, but I mean, we're taking on a long history.
Yeah,
And I think it's one of the advantages is just not having somebody from here is that you know, you need to know how it can be done someplace else. It's hard to be too critical of people who don't know it any other way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's,
That's the
Yeah.
reality, and it's not unusual. But, you know, I had a conversation with her yesterday that, you know, don't spend an inordinate amount of time trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. Do what you would do, and then it'll make sense. We don't have to figure out every piece of history here. Just move ahead. I know Abdo has done a lot of fixing up of the numbers and how we did this and cleaning up processes and stuff like that. But I think she's absolutely correct in her statement that, you know, if it wasn't for the last 7-8 months of Abdo, that nobody can walk into this and figure it out. At least not in this short time period. It's daunting.
I think we made good moves there.
Yeah.
Yep,
Anyway,
they're expensive,
You
but
guys got 67 minutes until you gotta be back here. Do you want to talk more or go get something to
Didn't
eat?
Karen want us to address that $750 scholarship?
That was in the
So she's-
consent items.
That's fine,
You've approved it.
squared away, okay.
That would have been,
Yeah, back here by 6, 10-2 probably to make sure that we're
yeah.
not frantically running in here.
Yeah.
get your
So-
sandwich and a glass
So
of
we
milk.
will